Well, good evening everybody and welcome to the Ghost Walk. My name is Richard, I'll be your guide. The tour's going to take us round about an hour and a half, and by one of those strange strokes of psychic good fortune, we shall finish up right outside a haunted pub. Such enthusiasm. But before we set off, there are a few things I must establish. So hands up, all those here tonight. Just testing you there, just testing you there. Hands up, all those here tonight who believe in ghosts. Hands up, all the believers. And hands up, all those who don't believe in ghosts. We have our volunteers. And hands up all those who couldn't care less. Someone just dragged you along here this evening. Well, tonight we have many ghostly tales dragged and dredged from the files of the Psychic Society, the Ghost Club of London, the pages of history and of legend. But as a very wise man once pointed out, even the longest journey begins with but one single step. So if you'd like to do that, which we take oh so much for granted in this age of the horseless carriage and do oh so little of, let us put one foot in front of the other and let us go gentle into that good night. In recent years, this building has become the most paranormally active building in the City of London. Indeed, all manner of strange things happen within those walls. Last August, the assistant beadle, Brian, was working in his office and two decorators were working in that middle room there. And all of a sudden, as he sat working in his desk, he heard an almighty scream from upstairs. Rising from his seat to investigate, he opened the door just in time to witness two very pale painters and decorators come racing down the stairs. They barged past him out into the street and they stood quaking on the other side of the road. Crossing to enquire what was the matter with them, he was told that they'd been working away when they turned to find a tall cloaked figure standing behind them. They'd asked if they could help, whereupon the figure simply grinned at them and then melted away into thin air. Elsewhere in the building, people going down to the cellar or basement have opened the door to find themselves face to face with a ghostly Roman legionnaire. And witnesses say this soldier simply stands there looking straight ahead. It's as though he's looking through them, not even aware of their presence. And a few years ago, they took an unprecedented step and called in a paranormal investigation unit to see if they could get to the bottom of who or what haunts Pewterers Hall. And these people turned up and they set up all the rigmarole of a ghost hunt. They put night vision cameras in rooms, motion detectors, they sprinkled powder across surfaces to see if they could gain any impression that something had passed through it. They left long play digital recorders going in the rooms and they began their all-night vigil. Well, almost immediately, mediums in that group began contacting the spirits of people who had lived in or else worked in buildings on the site before Pewterers Hall was here. In that downstairs room, about 1 o'clock in the morning, they played back a long play digital recorder, and lo and behold, there upon the recording, over and over again, was a child's voice crying, "Mama, Mama, Mama." And this is also the building where on Ghost Walks, more than any other building, people on tours with me have gone away with what could possibly be paranormal activity. I say possibly because it concerns one of the most debated over aspects of the paranormal today. As somebody who's been collecting ghost stories now for 27 years, I can honestly say I'm hard pushed to remember if I heard anything about these until 6 or 7 years ago. Nowadays, it's about the only aspect of the paranormal I ever get to hear about. And I'm speaking here of photographs on which are present orbs. Now, for those of you not familiar with orbs, they're round balls of light that appear on photographs. There might be a large one above a subject. There might be lots of smaller ones across the photograph itself. And those who say they're paranormal claim that they are the early stages of a spirit manifestation. If you like, it's an immature spirit that has not yet learned the art of materialization. So some people say they're paranormal, some people say they're not. But I have to say, it happened 17 times last year. So far this year it's happened 29 times. People have taken a photograph of this building on tours with me, and when they look at that photograph, clear as day on the photograph, always between those two far windows on the right side, there are 3 or 4 large distinct orbs floating between the windows. Now, I don't know if they are paranormal or not. When people actually do point them out to me on photographs, I always point out these lights up here, and I just wonder if it could be something to do with them catching the light, or maybe catching a reflection of a flash from the window a second after someone else has taken a photograph. So it might be paranormal, it might not be paranormal, but if you've got your mobile phone camera on you or your digital camera on you, why not take a photograph of Pewter's Hall and let's see if you go away with an orb, 2 or 3. And if you don't, please don't be in the least bit disheartened. There's always Photoshop when you get home tonight. But whilst that's being done, let me just tell you my favourite story from last year. Last September I was standing here with a group, and it was quite dark, late at night, and as I stood telling the story, all of a sudden all the people standing in this section of the group began waving up at Pewter's Hall. So I turned around and looked, and the hall was in darkness. And I said to them, "What were you waving at?" And they said there was a girl in that middle window waving at us. And I said, "Well, what happened to her?" They said, "Well, she suddenly disappeared." And I thought, "Whoa, another story to tell about Pewter's Hall." And last September I was coming to the pub we started at from the other direction, so that was where I was going to finish. So all the way round to that pub I was thinking how to tell the story on the next tour. Should I give her a sallow complexion, maybe even make her an hollow-eyed skull gazing from the window, waving at my group with bony digit? And by the time I got to the pub I got a pretty good idea of how I was going to tell it. And when I got to the pub, well, if you actually look in the top flat there, top floor, sorry, that is the Beadle's flat, and that's where the Beadle and his wife live. And when I actually got round to the final pub, his wife was in there, and she came up to me incredibly apologetic, and she said, "Oh, Richard," she said, "I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't spoil your tour." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, I was walking past the middle window, and I waved to you, and your group started waving up at me," she said. So I ducked, and that's how the ghost suddenly disappeared. So that's Pewter's Hall. We're going over to our next location now. We have to cross this road here. It is a strange road, and the cars come at us from all directions. So can I just ask you, please, as you cross this road, please be aware of your own personal safety at all times. Don't worry if you don't make it across the first. I'll rephrase that. Don't worry if you get stuck on one side the first time. I promise to wait for you on the other side of the road.